Hey there, Legal Tea listeners. This is your host, Jenny Roselle. Today's topic is a current trend, and my goal in this rotating topic is to discuss something going on in sort of the current times that is pertinent to my little estate world. Would you believe me if I told you today we're talking about Britney Spears? And I'm sure you're wondering how on earth my world and Britney Spears' world collide. Let me start off the podcast and we'll circle back to that question. So, back in 2007, there were a few incidents involving Miss Britney that caused many to question her behavior. She was recently divorced from a gentleman named Kevin Federline, and in that divorce, she unfortunately lost custody of their two children. One of her very public stunts was when she made national, dare I say, worldwide headlines for shaving her head. According to an article in Cosmopolitan, Britney showed up to the hair salon after leaving a rehab clinic, and she had stopped by the home of Federline to see their children. He refused, and that's when she headed to the salon. She walked in and asked the hairdresser to shave her head. The hairdresser tried to convince her not to do that, but right when the hairdresser turned around, Britney grabbed the clippers and started shaving her head. This incident, among a few other sort of headline-making things she did, was the primary reason that in 2008, Jamie Spears, Britney's father, petitioned the California court to become her conservator. And that's how it relates to my little estate world. So a conservatorship is when a judge appoints someone to be in charge of someone else's financial affairs and or their healthcare decisions. Now, here in good old Indiana, we call a conservatorship a guardianship. So if you ever hear those two terms of arts, they're relatively talking about the same thing. Now, over the years, since 2008, Britney and her lawyer have attempted different tactics to alter or to at least modify the conservatorship. Like just recently, in November 2020, Britney and her lawyer requested that her father, Jamie, be removed as her conservator. The judge unfortunately declined that request, and so Jamie, Britney's father, remained the conservator. But the judge did agree to appoint a co-conservator, and that co-conservator's name was Bessemer Trust, which I believe is some sort of bank or institution, some sort of fiduciary capacity. So that is what Britney and her lawyer had sort of requested as a backup in case the judge would not agree to remove Jamie as the conservator. In December of 2020, the judge extended the conservatorship until September 2021, which, of course, as we sit today, is really soon. But just think about this. The conservatorship has been intact from 2008 and will likely continue until at least September of this year, 2021, if not longer. To explain this a little bit more, here in Indiana, which I'm assuming it's the same probably with their court, once a guardianship is established, it's not a set in stone forever sort of thing. And we actually have to do routine reports to the court to provide updates of the person the guardianship is over, their finances, their whereabouts. And in that report, we ultimately request that the guardianship remain intact for reasons, A, B, and C. And that's what it sounds like is going on in Britney's conservatorship, that it remains active because there's not, according to the judge or the court, there's not been a strong showing of why the conservatorship is no longer needed. So therefore, the conservatorship remains active. If you have followed Britney's conservatorship at all, or even just really heard mumblings of it, you've probably heard of the hashtag Free Britney movement. So many fans have come to her defense to support her and put pressure on the situation to end the conservatorship. Just early in 2021, a documentary was released called Framing Britney Spears, and it made headlines. And specifically, the documentary was really about her hard work, her dedication to the music industry, and her rise to fame. And following its release, so many celebrities have come out and vocalized support for Britney, calling what she went through as a child and an adult so far has been, quote, gut-wrenching and heartbreaking to watch. In April of this year, 2021, Britney, through her lawyer, requested to, quote, speak for herself in court and do so as soon as possible. This marked a momentous event, primarily because she's rarely publicly talked about the conservatorship. That got set for hearing, and that hearing occurred on June 23rd, 2021. And what she vocalized at that hearing shocked the world. She provided several examples of why she felt she no longer needs a conservator. And of course, this has reignited the hashtag Free Britney movement. Following that hearing, it must have put an immense amount of pressure on some people that were near and dear to her, or at least close to her. Whether she thinks they're near and dear may or may not be. So, for example, her manager, her longtime manager, Larry Rudolph, resigned. And according to TMZ, he said he and Britney had not even communicated in the prior 2.5 years. And he said that he actually had heard that Britney had expressed a desire to an intention to officially and formally retire from the music business. Also following that hearing, according to New York Times, a little side note, I think Britney speaking at the June 23rd hearing really paid off for her. So her court-appointed lawyer, his name was Samuel Ingham III, and he has represented her for a very long time. He asked to resign, just like Larry Rudolph. And you're not even going to believe me, as did Bessemer Trust. That was the court-appointed co-conservator with Jamie, Britney's father. So we have her manager that's resigning, her lawyer that's resigning, and now the co-conservator all resigning. The resignations were granted, and after a few more court filings, the judge actually approved Britney to pick her own lawyer instead of them, the court, appointing one for her. And she did just that. She has actually ended up hiring a gentleman by the name of Matthew Rosengart. And he's an attorney who is a former federal prosecutor, which is awesome. Former federal prosecutor, and he's made a name for himself representing various celebrities. And it has been said that he is going to very aggressively attempt to get this conservatorship terminated. Just recently, at a hearing, Britney, with Mr. Rosengart by her side, I believe it was held virtually, Britney read another statement to the court, and she shared that the, quote, conservatorship had ruined her life, and requested yet again that her father be removed as conservator. And actually, she even shared that she wants her father charged with abusing his role. Holy cow, them's fighting words. So that's sort of where we are as of mid to late July when I'm recording this episode. I've actually already had to update and re-record this episode once because so much had happened since I had recorded the first time. So we'll see. We'll have to see how things play out from this point in time, whether I'm going to have to re-record again. So how do conservatorships and guardianships fit into my little estate world? So as a reminder, here in Indiana, we call them guardianships. And we certainly do not see them for celebrities. Hey, it's the first time for everything, though. But where we do commonly see them is in two situations that I kind of want to quickly note for you guys. First, we help clients gain guardianship over children who perhaps may have some special needs. And with turning 18, that child becomes, legally speaking, an adult. So sometimes kiddos who are about to turn 18, the parents, or whoever may be the proposed legal guardian, it's not always the parents, want to maintain being the child's decision maker. And a guardianship is the legal procedure to make that happen. A second example of when we see guardianships is when we help clients gain guardianship over aging adults who may be experiencing some significant cognitive impairment. So think advanced dementia, Alzheimer's, etc. Where the person, due to their cognitive impairment, needs further assistance with decision making. That's when guardianship over aging adults comes in handy. So oftentimes we see this become a thing if the person does not have a power of attorney in place, or perhaps their power of attorney document is not strong enough, hint, hint, online documents, and the person trying to help with decisions is hitting roadblock after roadblock. If we are looking at obtaining guardianship over someone, it's worth noting the process. So like so many have learned through Britney's story, it's a court process, which means individuals hire an attorney like me to assist them through the proceeding. It involves a ton of paperwork. It involves a court hearing or more. It could involve more than just one, but it's usually just one. And ultimately, the judge decides whether the proposed guardian is an appropriate and suitable person to make decisions on behalf of this other person. Beyond that, there are two types of guardianship. You can have just one or you can have both. So the guardian can be the guardian of the quote person. And secondly, the guardian can be the guardian of the quote estate. So we got person and estate. Guardian of the person means you have the authority to make decisions about the person. So think like healthcare decisions, perhaps where the person should reside, where the person should attend school. Now, guardian of the estate means you have the authority to make decisions about the person's like financial affairs. So for this, where we most often see it is like applying for governmental benefits like Medicaid, or maybe the person needs to access a bank or financial account, or even perhaps working with, just financial professionals and tax professionals. So yeah, Britney Spears' dad, Jamie, has quite a bit of power, quite a bit of authority over Britney. For example, something Britney mentioned at that sort of momentous June 23rd, 2021 hearing was that Jamie, her father, forced her to utilize birth control. Just no words. So we will have to see how things play out. There's, of course, opinions everywhere. Many people think she does not need a conservator anymore. Others think she does. So, if you were anything like me, I'd heard about Britney Spears' conservatorship, but I didn't really have any idea how it came about, how it came to be. Why is it still active? I mean, she's older than I am. Who's controlling what? And now I hope you do, because I learned a thing or two through the research for this episode. Okay, so next week's topic is we're back to estate planning of the rich and famous. And this time we'll be discussing Miss Anna Nicole Smith. Well, maybe more Anna Nicole Smith's much older husband, and what happened when he passed and when Anna passed subsequent to his passing. It was a mess. And it has taken so long that the litigation is still pending today. So stay tuned. It'll be a good one. Until next time, Legal Tea listeners, I'll talk to you then.